Most people think AMT is unavoidable when exercising incentive stock options. But the truth is this: there are 3 specific strategies used by the smartest employees that can dramatically reduce or even eliminate your AMT bill. Today, I'm going to show you the exact 3 ways you can avoid AMT when exercising ISOs, when each method works best, and which one applies to your situation. AMT, Alternative Minimum Tax, gets triggered when the value of your ISOs at exercise is higher than your strike price. That difference is called the spread. And the bigger the spread, the bigger your AMT exposure. But here's the key. AMT is not a penalty. It's not automatic. And it's not something everyone will owe. Let's start with the strategy that saves people the most money and also requires the earliest thinking. Strategy number 1, exercising when the spread is small. The simplest and most effective way to avoid AMT is to exercise ISOs when the spread between your strike price and the 409A valuation is tiny. When the 409A is close to your strike price, the AMT impact is either extremely small or 0 altogether. This usually applies to employees in early stage companies, seed, Series A, or sometimes early Series B. Here's why it works. AMT is calculated on the spread. If the spread is almost nothing, your AMT is almost nothing. Exercising early also locks in a low cost basis, starts your long-term capital gains clock, reduces your risk of future AMT spike. But that isn't just for early employees. Even later stage employees sometimes get lucky when the 409A temporarily dips or stays flat while the company grows. The biggest mistake people make here is waiting for certainty. They wait to be sure the company will IPO or be acquired, but by the time that certainty shows up, the 409A has risen, the spread has widened, and AMT gets expensive. But what if you aren't early? What if the valuation is already high? That's where strategy number 2 becomes essential. Strategy number 2, exercise in stages. This is the strategy mid-stage employees rely on to avoid a massive one-time tax hit. Instead of exercising 100% of your ISOs in a single year, which often triggers the largest AMT event in your life, you exercise in smaller blocks over multiple years. Why does this work? Because AMT has a threshold. As long as you stay below your AMT crossover point, you can exercise some shares without triggering AMT at all. Here's what staged exercising allows you to do. Reduce AMT by staying under your AMT threshold. Start the long-term capital gains clock earlier on some shares. Avoid exercising everything at the highest valuation. Keep flexibility if the company's outlook changes. The best part is that staged exercising is customizable. Some people exercise 10% per year, 25% per year, a fixed dollar amount of AMT exposure per year. It all depends on your income, tax bracket, and your risk tolerance. The biggest mistake in this scenario is waiting until after funding rounds, because once a new round closes, the 401A generally spikes. The spread widens, and staged exercising becomes far more expensive. But what if neither one of the first 2 stages works for you? Maybe the valuation is too high, or maybe you're too close to liquidity. That's where stage 3 comes in, a method almost nobody talks about, but one that can completely eliminate AMT in certain cases. Before we jump into the 3rd stage, which is the most misunderstood and most useful for late stage employees, I want to give you something that will make all of this much easier. I wrote a free book called Take Charge of Your Equity Comp. It walks you through AMT, exercise timing, 409A valuations, and the biggest mistake employees make with stock options. If you want to understand how to exercise your ISOs confidently without guessing, download the book using the link below. Now let's get into the strategy that becomes critical at your company's approaches IPO or acquisition. Strategy number 3, exercise in a low-income year. This strategy works because AMT is heavily influenced by your regular taxable income. If your income drops because you took time off, went on sabbatical, changed jobs mid-year, or had lower bonuses, your AMT threshold rises. That means you can exercise more shares before triggering AMT. It's one of the most overlooked strategies, and it can save employees tens of thousands of dollars. Here's why. AMT compares 2 systems, your regular tax and your AMT calculations. When your regular tax drops, the difference between the 2 narrows, and that gives you room to exercise ISOs at a much lower or even zero AMT cost. Common situations where this applies. You take unpaid parental leave. You leave your job and haven't started the next one yet. Your bonus or RSU income shrinks. You switch to part-time temporarily. You purposely structure a low income year for tax planning. Another scenario that makes this powerful is after an IPO decline. If your company goes public and the stock drops significantly, the spread and your AMT exposure may shrink. Most employees don't realize this window even exists. But there's a catch. This strategy only works if the company's outlook is strong enough that the shares still carry long-term potential. So now you understand the 3 ways to avoid AMT, but how do you know which one fits your situation? Here's a simple breakdown. If the spread is small, use strategy number 1, exercise early before valuations rise. If the spread is large but predictable, use strategy number 2, exercise in stages to control AMT each year. If your income will drop or has dropped, use strategy number 3, exercise in a low income year to dramatically reduce AMT. The key is matching your company stage and your income to the right strategy. Once you understand the scenario you're in, the decision becomes much clearer. And that brings us to our final point, putting all of this together without making expensive mistakes. If this video helped you understand how to avoid AMT when exercising your ISOs, you'll find even more clarity in my free book, Take Charge of Your Equity Comp. You can download it using the link below. And if you want more videos on AMT strategies, stock options, and building wealth through equity compensation, make sure to subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.